The smile on the woman's face didn't match her eyes. She stood on the porch in a lemon-yellow cardigan, holding a wicker basket filled with muffins, a scented candle, and a shiny silver keychain shaped like a house. "Welcome to the neighborhood," she beamed. "We're so glad you chose Oak Hollow. You're going to love it here." Mark thanked her politely, took the basket, and waved as she left. But as soon as the front door shut, his wife Lena stepped in from the hallway, already frowning. Her eyes went straight to the keychain. Mark held it up, confused. "What? It's kind of cute." Lena didn't answer. She took it between her fingers, flipped it over once, then twice. Her jaw tightened. "Mark, get me the signal scanner." He blinked. "Wait. What?" Lena didn't repeat herself. She walked straight to the kitchen, placed the keychain on a paper towel like it was a dead insect, and pulled open a drawer full of organized tools Mark had never seen her use. When he handed her the small black device from the cabinet, the one she told him never to touch, she powered it on and passed it slowly over the keychain. Beep. Once. Then again. Then again. "RF transmitter," she muttered. "Short range. Motion activated." Mark's stomach sank. "You're telling me the HOA just gave us a bug souvenir?" Lena didn't respond. She picked up a screwdriver and popped the keychain open with a crisp click. Inside was a tight coil of wire, a flat silver chip, and a tiny blinking red diode. Mark stared. "That's military grade." Lena nodded once. "Prototype too. You wouldn't find this in a Radio Shack knockoff." The blinking light died as she snipped a wire. Her face was unreadable, but Mark had seen that expression once before, when someone rear-ended them at a red light and tried to lie about it. Calm. Analytical. Leffel. "Lena," he said slowly, "I thought this was supposed to be a quiet neighborhood." "So did I." She wrapped the pieces in foil, tossed them into a black pouch, and zipped it up tight. Then, without another word, she disappeared into the bedroom. A minute later, he heard the soft clicks of a mechanical lock turning, followed by the scrape of a box being dragged out from under the bed. He didn't go in. He didn't ask. He just stood there in the hallway, still holding the basket with its still warm muffins and lavender candle, and stared out the window toward the street. That same woman was walking back to her house across the street. She turned just before reaching her door, and smiled at him again. This time, there was no pretense, no friendliness, just a flicker of something cold and knowing in her eyes. The next morning, Mark opened the blinds and paused. A matte black SUV idled at the corner of their cul-de-sac. Windows tinted, no license plate. It didn't move. He watched it for 10 minutes. Nothing. Then, just as casually as it arrived, it rolled down the street and disappeared around the bend. No one else seemed to notice or care. "Lena," he called, still watching the street. "That car's been out here since sunrise." She didn't answer immediately. When she finally came down the stairs, she was in workout clothes, but Mark recognized the pair of shoes she wore. They weren't for running. They were for sprinting and fighting. "I saw it," she said. "Same model as yesterday. No front plate. And no HOA decals." "I thought they were big on security," Mark muttered. "Dale even told me they have their own patrol." At the sound of that name, Lena's gaze sharpened. She walked to the table, opened her laptop, and typed something, then pulled up a list of local property owners. "Dale Henderson," she murmured. "HOA president for 5 years. Retired Army colonel. Moved to Oak Hollow 7 months before us." Mark leaned over her shoulder. "That's not weird." She clicked again. "He also owns 5 properties. All cash buys. Each purchased under different LLCs." "Okay, that's weird." "And the HOA bylaws." She pulled up a PDF and scrolled fast. Page 13, subsection C, Residents may be subject to random property inspections by certified HOA security personnel for safety assurance and code compliance. Mark read it again, slower. Random inspections. That's not an HOA rule. That's an open-door search warrant. Lena was already on her phone, not calling, recording. She walked out to the porch and panned the phone across the street, where a patrolman, wearing a tactical vest with no name tag, was placing an orange citation on a neighbor's mailbox. She zoomed in on his gear, earpiece, radio, something holstered under his jacket. The man turned and saw her. For a second, they stared at each other. Then he raised his hand in a slow, deliberate wave. Lena didn't wave back. That night, Mark couldn't sleep. He tossed and turned, every shadow in the hallway suddenly sinister. He got up for water, and nearly jumped when he found Lena at the dining table, headphones in, watching security footage from their newly installed cameras. He noticed something on her screen. A figure crouched beside their trash cans, digging through the bags. The timestamp was 3:13 a.m. "Who is that?" Mark asked. Lena didn't answer. Instead, she reached into a drawer and pulled out a small, unmarked black phone. She hadn't used it in years. She stared at it for a long second. Then she powered it on. The screen blinked to life. No apps, just a single contact saved under the name. Echo 06. She opened a secure message field and typed, "Echo Team. Situation warming. Phase 1 complete. Awaiting standby." The wind whispered through the hedges that night, too soft for most to notice. But Lena wasn't like most. She sat in the dark, her back against the living room wall, watching the grainy infrared feed from the garden cam on her tablet. The screen glowed faintly. One feed, then two, then three. A shadow moved across the lawn. She zoomed in. Boots, not sneakers, not barefoot. Military tread pattern. Lena set the tablet down without blinking. Her fingers moved to the drawer beside her, sliding it open just enough to wrap around the grip of a weapon Mark had never seen. Outside, the figure crouched beside their A/C unit, examining something. He held a small metal tool in his gloved hand, unscrewing a panel. Mark, groggy from sleep, stepped into the hallway, rubbing his eyes. "Hey, it's 2 a.m. What are you?" She snapped her fingers once, sharp, surgical. He froze. With her other hand, she motioned toward the couch. Down. Quiet. He dropped behind it without asking why. Through the window, they watched as the figure's head snapped toward the house. He stood, slowly, not rushed, not panicked, then started walking directly toward the back door. Tap, tap, tap. He rapped on the glass. Mark's breath caught in his throat. The man lifted his hand, not to wave. He pointed, right at the security camera Lena had installed 2 days ago, then tapped his ear. He knew he was being watched. Lena stood, calm as winter. She stepped into the moonlight pouring through the window, just enough for him to see her, then raised her own hand, not to wave, but to point. Behind him, the man stiffened. He turned his head and bolted. In the distance, the faint hiss of motion sensors triggered in rapid succession. Lena had wired the yard with non-lethal trip alarms, silent for the house, but flashing red alerts on her private feed. Mark finally exhaled. Who the hell was that? Lena walked straight to the bedroom and emerged moments later in black fatigues. Not a costume, not prepper gear. Real tactical wear, still marked faintly with faded unit tags. She slung a lightweight rifle across her chest and clipped something small and square to her belt. "Lena," Mark whispered, "this is starting to feel like a war zone." She looked at him, deadly calm. "That's because it is." He swallowed. "What's going on?" She opened her phone again and typed into the secure message window. "Active recon confirmed. House tagged. Phase 2 ready." A reply came back immediately. Just one word. "Standby." She looked at Mark for the first time all night. "I need you to do exactly what I say. No hesitation. No questions." He nodded slowly, heart pounding. "Who are we dealing with?" She locked eyes with him. "People I used to work with," she said softly. "The kind that don't knock twice." Outside, a branch snapped. Then another. Lena's hand was already on the light switch, killing every bulb in the house. "Time to disappear," she said. By sunrise, Oak Hollow looked as normal as ever. Morning joggers, coffee mugs on porches, sprinklers clicking to life. But Lena had been up for hours. Mark watched her from the kitchen as she knelt beside the garden gate, weaving something fine and nearly invisible between the posts. Nylon filament. Fishing line. "Trip alarm?" he asked. She didn't look up. "Thermal trigger. If someone crosses it, their heat signature will ping the mesh net. I'll get a vibration alert. You just carry that stuff." "I never unpacked it." Mark blinked. "You weren't planning to retire here, were you?" Lena paused, stood slowly, and finally looked him in the eye. "I hoped I could." Then she turned and walked back into the shadows of the yard. Later that afternoon, Mark went to check the mailbox, half hoping the morning's chaos had been some kind of fever dream. He tried to focus on the mundane: bills, local flyers, and an HOA newsletter with community safety updates in bold. He didn't see the man watching him. Across the street, behind a hedge, a figure crouched with a monocular scope pressed to one eye. Dressed like a landscaping crew member, hat low. Mark didn't notice him. But Lena did. She stepped outside in full view and raised her phone, not to take a photo, but to make it clear she already had one. The figure dropped out of sight in a flash of motion. Mark rushed back up the path. "Lena, someone's tailing us again." "I know," she said. "It's the third one today." He stared. "Third." She pulled out her tablet and tapped the screen. Live feed from 4 hidden cams across the neighborhood. Mark saw them. 2 men in maintenance uniforms standing too long at the corner, a jogger looping the block 4 times without breaking a sweat, and the scoped observer by the hedges. "They're watching the house in rotations," she said, "working in 30-minute shifts. Military precision." He looked down at her tablet again. Every angle, every motion marked and logged with timestamps. It wasn't just surveillance. It was recon. "They're not looking for something," Mark muttered. "They're waiting." Lena didn't answer. She walked to the garage, reached behind a false panel, and pulled out a long, matte black case. When she opened it, Mark took a step back. Inside were 6 pieces of precision hardware, foam cut to fit. A collapsible sniper rifle, smoke grenades, EMP darts, and a rugged earpiece she hadn't worn in years. She took it out, clicked it on. Crackling static. Then a voice. "Echo 1. This is Echo 0. Confirm status." Lena pressed the comm. "Echo 1. Eyes on. Trap set. Nest warm. Hostile contact rising." A pause. Then, "Stand by for insertion window." Mark's skin prickled. "You just activated your team, didn't you?" Lena nodded. "How soon till they get here?" She glanced at the sky. "They're already here." And at that moment, across the street, the fake jogger turned the corner again. Only this time, a soft click came from the hedges beside him. He looked down. Tripwire. Then the unmistakable hum of a drone lifting just above roof level, locking on. Mark's pulse jumped. Something was coming, and no one in Oak Hollow had a clue. By noon, the sun scorched down over Oak Hollow like nothing was wrong. But something was very wrong. Dale, HOA president, ex-colonel and uninvited tyrant, was walking up the driveway with 2 security officers flanking him. Not cops, not private contractors. Something in between. Tactical vests, mirrored shades, and matching radios. No insignia. No smiles. Mark opened the door a crack. "Can I help you?" Dale smiled, the kind that never touched his eyes. Just a perimeter inspection, Mark. HOA policy. Safety first, right? Perimeter. Mark narrowed his eyes. We're not due for an inspection. Dale tilted his head. That's so. Huh. Weird. Behind him, one of his men slowly circled toward the backyard gate. That's when Lena stepped into view. Full tactical gear. Calm. Silent. Her presence froze Dale for a split second, just enough for his hand to twitch instinctively toward his side. Mark saw it. So did Lena. Don't, she said evenly. Dale's hand hovered just above his jacket. I'm not here to cause trouble, he said, too smoothly, just keeping the neighborhood secure. Then drop the weapon, Lena replied, steel in her voice. I'm not armed, he said flatly. Click. 3 red laser dots flickered across Dale's chest, one on his collarbone, one on his throat, one center mass. The 2 officers reached for their weapons. Wrong move. From the trees, from behind hedges, from nowhere, figures in full tactical armor emerged like phantoms, suppressed rifles up, faces masked. No words. Lena didn't have to call them in. They were already there. Echo Team had been ghosting the neighborhood for hours, camouflage, waiting, watching. The officer by the gate froze mid-step as a silenced round thudded into the dirt inches from his boot. Dale's hand slowly raised into the air. So this is how it's gonna go, huh? He said softly. Lena stepped forward, her tone ice-cold. You installed surveillance bugs in residence homes. You built an off-books paramilitary patrol. You sent men into my backyard at night. You don't understand what's at stake, Dale growled. Oh, I do, she said. You're trying to rebuild the unit they buried after Morocco. You're using this neighborhood as cover. And I was sent here to smoke you out. Dale's eyes flicked with recognition. So they sent you. No, she said. I volunteered. A chopper roared overhead. Low, loud, unmarked. It circled once, then hovered. Dale sighed. Then I guess this ends here. But Lena didn't lower her weapon. Not yet. I know about Cutter, she said. Dale froze. That was the name that changed everything. You think I don't know who's bankrolling this? He's not in custody, is he? Because he's not with you, and he's not with me. Dale looked at her, something dark flickering behind his calm. You're too late, Lena. She tightened her grip. We'll see. The Echo Team swarmed in, clean, silent, precise. Dale and his men were disarmed, restrained, and vanished into the transport like smoke. It was over. But Lena stood there, still scanning, still waiting. And in the silence, her earpiece buzzed again. Echo 1. We've got a problem. The van was barely out of sight when Lena's earpiece crackled again. Echo 1. Secondary target en route. Package inbound. 4 minutes. Her blood chilled. Secondary target. Define the package, she said, already scanning the street. The reply came low and grim. Biometric cargo. Cutter's fingerprint. It's moving. Lena's eyes locked on Mark, who stood frozen in the doorway. Go to the panic room, she said. Now. What? Why? They're gone. They were the warm-up, she said. The real threat's incoming. 4 minutes. That's all she had. She pulled a metallic case from beneath the porch steps, camouflaged under dirt and flower pots. Inside, a drone tablet, EMP fobs, and a biometric lock override tool. Mark, halfway down the basement stairs, turned back. What's inbound, Lena? What's Cutter sending? Not what, she muttered, hands moving fast. Who? Across the cul-de-sac, a delivery truck turned the corner. White. Unmarked. Clean. Too clean. It stopped in front of their neighbor's house, then slowly rolled forward to hers. The side door opened before it even parked. 2 men stepped out. Black cargo pants, gray polos, No visible weapons, but their movements were too smooth, too rehearsed. Military. One carried a sleek black crate the size of a coffin. Lena's drone tablet beeped, thermal spike detected. She deployed the drone silently from the garage, its rotors whisper quiet. It rose, climbed, and tilted toward the crate. Inside was movement. Mark saw it on the screen. What the hell is that? A bomb. Worse, Lena muttered. It's alive. The taller of the two men approached her front steps and pressed the doorbell. He smiled into the camera. Delivery for Lena Ward, he said. Special Forces Return Protocol. Authorization. Cutter 60. Lena's voice came through the speaker, dead calm. You're out of uniform. He smirked. We don't wear uniforms anymore. Then the smile dropped. You have something he wants. She didn't reply. The man turned slightly, signaling his partner. The crate hissed. Hydraulics. Something inside woke up. Lena burst through the front door, rifle drawn. Back away. Right now. The man raised his hands. You're not cleared for Phase 3. Neither are you, she shot back. Phase 3 is live, Lena. The crate's just here to collect. Suddenly, the crate split open down the center, releasing a hiss of chilled mist. Inside stood a man, or something that used to be a man. Cybernetic implants laced his spine. Veins glowed faint blue beneath skin that looked reinforced. His eyes opened, metallic, artificial, inhuman. Mark gasped. What the hell is that? Lena answered without looking away. Phase 3. The thing stepped out of the crate, not rushing, not hesitant. It scanned the house. Then Lena. Then said her name. Not a question. A confirmation. Lena Ward. Target acquired. The cybernetic man moved like a machine, but faster. One moment he stood by the crate. The next, he was halfway up the porch. The next, Lena's shoulder exploded with pain. She barely dodged. The impact missed her heart by inches and cratered the concrete wall behind her like it was drywall. Shards rained down. Go, she screamed, shoving Mark inside and slamming the steel-reinforced panic door. It locked with a clunk just as his second blow dented the outer frame. From behind the walls, Mark shouted, What is that thing? Prototype. Lena muttered, crouched behind the overturned coffee table. Bio-cybernetic hunter. Last seen on a kill mission in Minsk, supposedly decommissioned. She slid a flashbang from her vest, yanked the pin, and hurled it through the shattered front window. The hallway erupted in white fire and thunder. Silence. Then a mechanical voice filtered through the dust. Optical disruption ineffective. Lena cursed under her breath. She reached for her radio. Echo 0. This is Echo 1. Phase 3 asset is active. Requesting engagement clearance. Static. No response. Echo 0. Respond. Still nothing. Her drone cam pinged. A heat map overlay showing all 3 of her support positions had gone cold. Markers gone. Flatlined. Echo teams offline, she whispered. Mark's voice cracked through the panic room speaker. What does that mean? It means, she said grimly, we're alone. A deep thump came from the hallway. Another. Closer. She ran into the kitchen, grabbing a small silver cube from beneath the sink. Mark's voice. What's that? EMP core, she said. Short range. Fries everything, including hearts. You're gonna use it on him. She looked toward the hall. It's the only way to slow him down. Another wall cracked. The thing was breaking through, not with speed, but with confidence. It knew she couldn't run. Lena stood still, waiting, holding the EMP. Come on, she whispered. Step closer. A glint of silver flashed through the cracked door. Now. She slammed the EMP cube against the wall and ducked. A burst of blue light exploded outward. Thunk. and the sound of 1,000 circuits frying screamed through the air. The cybernetic soldier jolted, sparks flying from his implants, his legs buckling. He dropped to one knee, eyes flickering, mouth twitching like a machine seizing mid-code. Lena didn't hesitate. She sprinted forward, slamming her boot into his chest and pinning him back as she jammed a shock baton into the base of his skull. Crack! The lights in the house flickered, and the soldier collapsed. Breathing heavy, Lena dropped beside him, watching as his body twitched, then went still. Mark's voice came through the intercom again. Did it work? For now, she said, rising. But if they sent him? Cutter's already 2 moves ahead. She walked to the shattered front door, looking out at the quiet street, and then her earpiece clicked once. Echo 1. Fallback. They weren't after you. They were after what's under the house. Lena froze. What? Cutter knows. The tunnel. The vault. She looked down at the floor beneath her feet, and her eyes widened. Lena's heart pounded against her ribs as she stood frozen in the doorway. Her eyes darted to the floor beneath her feet. The floor. The vault. Echo 1. You need to fall back. Now. The voice crackled in her earpiece, more urgent than before. Cutter knows. He's coming for the vault under the house. Lena's mind raced. What the hell is the vault? She murmured under her breath. The ground trembled beneath her feet, subtle at first, then harder. Boom. Boom. The house jolted. The walls groaned. Then, there it was. A low, almost imperceptible hum. It came from beneath the floor. From deep within the earth itself. A sound that set her teeth on edge. Something alive in the walls. Mark rushed to her side, eyes wide. Lena, what is that? What's going on? Get to the basement, she snapped. Now. But before they could move, the air in the house thickened. The walls seemed to contract. The floor beneath their feet shifted like it was breathing, pushing in, drawing back. It wasn't just the house. It was something below the house. A low, echoing voice cut through the thick silence, the unmistakable sound of Cutter's calm, cold tone. You've found it, haven't you, Lena? She spun, her fingers tightening around her rifle. Cutter, show your face. The floor cracked, and beneath them, a door slid open, its edges glowing with a pulsating blue light. A dark, cold laugh echoed up from the shadows. I don't need to. You're already standing on it. The ground buckled beneath her feet. The house shook again as the concrete foundation split. Something massive was shifting deep below. Something unnatural, making the earth move. The vault. Lena gritted her teeth and bolted toward the door that led to the basement. No time to waste. They had to stop this now. She grabbed Mark's arm, pulling him with her, the tremors almost throwing them off balance as they raced down the stairs. They'd reached the basement in seconds, but it wasn't empty anymore. A massive mechanical door, steel and reinforced, loomed in the corner, embedded deep into the concrete. The vault. Cutter's voice echoed once more, smooth and venomous. You don't understand. I don't need to take control of Oak Hollow, Lena. I don't even need to kill you. Her breath quickened. Then what the hell do you want? I want you to open it, he purred, as if the words alone were a command. You're the only one who can. Lena's eyes flicked to the door. The lock mechanism was inlaid with an intricate biometric sensor. Her biometric signature. The one that only Cutter knew. Suddenly, it clicked. All of it. Cutter hadn't just targeted her house. He had targeted her. He'd known her every move, every extraction, every secret buried deep in her blood. The vault wasn't just a safe house. It wasn't just a government asset. It was her legacy. The reason they had tried to bury her. And Cutter wanted it all. Open it, Lena. Cutter's voice came again, calm, threatening. Or I'll burn this entire neighborhood to the ground. Lena's mind whirled, her fingers grazing the biometric lock. The weight of the decision pressed down on her. She'd seen the files, the darkness buried under Oak Hollow. Secrets, deadly, ancient secrets that only a few knew existed. She was one of those few. With a deep breath, she stepped forward, placing her thumb on the scanner. A soft click. Then the mechanical door creaked open, revealing a vast chamber below. Inside, the vault's contents gleamed, and the shadows in the room stirred. The world held its breath.